Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm just going to give a couple of seconds to allow most of our attendees to come in before we start the business of the day. I can see a couple of, familiar names on our attendees. You guys are welcome once again. Okay. Good afternoon once again and welcome. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, my name is Gagba Shokonuche Yahaya, and I'm the training coordinator with the Temple Small Business and Development Center. The Temple Small Business and Development Center helps small businesses start and grow. We offer one-on-one consulting and a variety of low to low-cost webinars. We are proud to be part of the nationally accredited network of the Small Business and Development Centers, which has over 1,000 networks across the United States of America. You are here this afternoon for a webinar on the things you need to know about online selling. Being a webinar, all attendees have been muted. However, we always encourage you to drop your question in the Q&A or the chat box. In addition to this, a copy of the PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be sent to all the attendees. Without further ado, please allow me to welcome our guest speaker, even as she takes over the floor for the presentation. Ms. Jenny, you're welcome.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Clark. And today we're going to be learning about selling online and what you need to know. Who here has been to one of our webinars? Anybody? We've done a couple. Hi, Judy. We've done some on web security. And you might have seen my partner, Jen, do some as well on SEO. So hi, I'm Jane Clark. I'm a co-founder and creative director of BrandSwan. I'm a multidisciplinary graphic designer and front-end web developer. I've been doing websites since the 90s, and I have a couple of first place awards. So yeah, let's just dive right into it and how I can teach you about e-commerce. A little bit about my company. We help small businesses, professionals, and nonprofits break away from the flock through story-driven branding, web design, and marketing. So that's sort of how we tackle marketing here through storytelling. So today we're going to talk about a few things. One is, what's a platform versus a marketplace? Let's compare some of the features that they have and which one might be best for you. And I'm going to give you some tips to get started with product listing, shipping, and social media promotion. Just a step-by-step process on how that works. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to have room for questions. So feel free to use the Q&A feature so that when we pause, we can go through those. And you can just send those questions in at any time that you have a question. I also might ask you to post some things in the chat as I'm curious what platforms you guys use. So stay tuned. So let's talk about the e-commerce platforms versus a marketplace. The platforms. So an e-commerce platform is a standalone website that people have to visit in order to purchase your product. And there are two versions of this. There are hosted platforms and self-hosted platforms. You're probably like, what, huh? So a hosted platform puts your website on their servers. So for example, Squarespace, that's a hosted solution. They have their own servers. The pros of that is that you can get up and running really quickly. They handle all the online payments for you. They sometimes have a lot of tools that you can use to promote your site. However, there are some cons. And one of them is that you can't move your site anywhere else without redoing it because their platform is proprietary. So, you know, the Squarespace CRM only runs on Squarespace. There's also sometimes lack of functionality and lack of customization. You might be able to choose between, you know, with maybe 100 templates, which sounds like a lot, but you can't really change a lot of the way it's designed. You can add your logo and maybe your banner, change the colors, of course, and add your imagery, but that could be a con as well. They also might not have really great SEO tools. So you have to kind of get around that and try to break best you can with what they provide you. Now, on the self-hosted side, you're in full control of whatever platform that you want to install your site on. Some pros is that more customization options. I mean, you can do anything. I think we always compare the best. Actually, I want to ask you guys in the chat, when you're looking to buy something, what do you compare it to? What is like the holy grail of e-commerce sites? Name a few for me. There won't be a test anywhere, I promise. Amazon, 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 Amazon and eBay, Etsy. Love Etsy. Yeah, so, Amazon has sort of taken the world by storm back in the day, and I don't really know, this is maybe in the 90s or yeah, maybe in the 90s, they were saying that Amazon wasn't going to make it, right? Amazon wasn't going to make it, no one wanted to buy books, they wanted more, and so they completely revolutionized their platform, and now it's sort of like the experience that people compare the online shopping to, right? So they definitely self-host their own platform and custom made things. And it's just an amazing experience. So that's a difference between a hosted platform and a self-hosted platform. So you're in control of the full user experience, and you can move your site from server to server, so long as that they support the platform that you're on. The cons, bigger upfront investment, because you need a web designer usually to build, the experience that you're looking for. There are out-of-the-box solutions, which I am going to talk about. But another thing you have to kind of worry about is the Pci Compliance. And what does that mean? Well, basically, it is a bank card industry rule on how you can accept payments securely. So they have some rules like having an SSL in order to take credit card payments and things of that nature. Also, what information is stored on your server, that can be an issue. So if you don't take certain precautions and your site gets hacked, that can be an issue for you. So again, the more custom you go, the more you have to worry about all those backend things that the hosted platforms have sort of thought through for you. Okay. Best platforms according to the world. Then I'll tell you my favorites, of course, but the first one is Woocommerce, and this one's my favorite, but you have to understand I'm a developer, right? So I am comfortable taking this open source software and installing it on my own server. So if you're a little bit technical and you want to try it, I feel like you can definitely learn how to do it. But if you're not real big on computers, and you might want to stay away from this solution, but it's best for WordPress sites. The second one, and this is one of my favorites, is Shopify. It is the #1 platform, hands down, for selling products. What I like about it is that it's super user-friendly and that you can just jump in and sell products, in minutes. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're doing a little bit of a deeper dive. Squarespace is a beautiful drag and drop builder, easy to use. Notice that Shopify and Squarespace, they're considered hosted solutions. So you have to go there on their site and their platform. Woocommerce, it's open source. You can completely put that wherever you want. Wix, good for making large websites. The e-commerce isn't super, isn't like top of the line their e-commerce experience, but I think at some point you have to decide, am I building a store or am I building an experience with a couple products? So think about, how big your e-commerce store is to your brand and whether that needs to be like the first entry thing. And then at that point, it'll allow you to kind of pick whatever, company that best fits you. Moving on to BigCommerce, I actually have not worked with this one, but it's very popular, and it's really for larger businesses and enterprises. So if you have a big corporation that might need more shipping and that kind of, and shipping help and all that kind of thing, you might want to look into BigCommerce. Weebly is really for simple websites like portfolios and online stores. It's very simple. You're not going to get a whole lot of options, but it will allow you to get up and going much faster. Magento. This is best for shopbook developers. So similar to WooCommerce, Magento is a platform kind of akin to WordPress, and it's mostly used for e-commerce. So those are the best platforms. Now, I want to know what platforms you're currently using or thinking of using. are there any that aren't on this list? What platform are you using or thinking of using? A lot of good ones. Yeah. Yeah, the GoDaddy Builder, I have mixed feelings on GoDaddy because I don't think what they give you is, I think they charge too much what they're offering when it comes to like the builder experience. It's definitely gotten better, but I don't feel like they're the expert on the platform. I feel it's kind of bleeding edge to me. But Squarespace, Wix, Shopify, all of those are kind of tried and true, and that's all they do is have those websites, whereas GoDaddy has hosting and domains and a variety of other things. So I feel like they can just do it better because that's what they specialize. Yeah. Depending how big your website is and how much, how important it is to your experience and your brand, you want to put some money in there, definitely. But we can talk about that later. Okay, so let's talk about some platforms and the comparisons. Now, my tip for you is in order to make a list of your must-haves, and then that will help you narrow down your options. So what's super important? For example, let's say you have a shirt and you know for a fact that you have to be able to pick the different colors and the sizes. So you have to look for an e-commerce platform that allows those options, for example. Popularity of different e-commerce platforms. So Woocommerce 25%, Shopify 20%, Magento 10%, OpenCart a little bit, BigCommerce, and other 38%. So the 38% are all just sort of random platforms. And there are some, and again, not all of them. If it's not these right here, don't be afraid to use them. There's a lot of great websites that are very industry specific, for example, for photographers. So you might go to a different platform meant for that. But just to give you an idea, this is the popularity of these. And here's a little bit of a feature list for you. I've done Shopify, Woocommerce, Wix, BigCommerce, and Magento. So a lot of these are subscription-based services. So Shopify, and I go into the pricing a little bit for these. I think it's like $30, like $29 a month. And you can definitely hook up your own domain name. It allows you to manage your products. It works with multiple payment gateways. So for example, let's say that you have a point of sale in your store and you want to use that same merchant, like authorize.net or Square, things like that, PayPal, Stripe. So those payment gateways are important, and not all of these work with all the payment gateways. They have like certain options. So just take a look at what that might look like. And I can suggest some payment gateways. And if you're not taking a whole lot of, like, let's say you're not really selling anything right now, but you're thinking about it, I would go with like something like PayPal or Stripe until you're making a certain amount of money, at which point, you might want to get a merchant where it's not as expensive per transaction. So you just have to feel it out, but there's some great features that are great for just starting out without a whole lot of an upfront cost. So keep that in mind. And of course, these down here, the basic customer management, what that means is that they keep a list of people who have purchased from your store, and you're sort of able to see those and in some cases be able to market to them. Moving down the list here, depending on your industry, you have to see what's important. As a designer, I need the themes to look good. I need them to look edgy and exciting. And so think about that. Is the image super important, or is a simple user-friendly experience more important? And I'll give you some questions to think about so you can kind of decide, what's more important. Wix has a lot of templates, but 800. And it's been around a while. I have a feeling those 800 might be a little dated looking, to be honest. Just keep that in mind. BigCommerce, you can actually buy some themes. And Magento has over 100 themes to take a look at. Now, every single platform you use should be mobile friendly. If they aren't, don't use them. That's sort of like a default at this point in time. Bandwidth, that really refers to how many visitors your site gets and how much and how fast it gets. Sometimes they might say, okay, we can only have 200,000 visitors a month. If only we'd be so lucky. It's a lot of visitors. So that's what the bandwidth refers to. Then a lot of them have reports. So it lets you know, hey, in July, this is what you sold. And you can start to, see patterns and be able to, react when you get the reports. And some of these, the reports are better than others. All of them have discount codes and coupon codes. That's super important and definitely important when you want to promote a product, having those discount codes. Not only do they give people, that the actual, awesome part of, having a discount on something, but it allows you to track your campaigns. If you have different coupon codes for different like emails, and you can see what's working, what isn't. Nearing the bottom here, Shopify can sometimes work with a point of sale. It allows you to have Facebook modules, buy buttons, and it kind of integrates with some of Shopify's apps. Woocommerce, there's thousands of extensions available, like a lot, a lot. What I love about it is that it integrates with membership plugins. So you can kind of, say, okay, well, if you want to sign up as a member, it's this much a month, and then you get the recurring fee. So I really love that part, because sometimes you want to show certain content to members, but not to people who aren't members. So I love that it plays nice with other plugins. Yeah, so there's a lot of different apps available for some of these that have been around a while. And this is really fun. So did you know that you can have both hosted and self-hosted combinations to create a print-on-demand store? So we recently launched a store from Printify, and what you do is you get these blank products, right? And you design them, you put your logo on them, and it can be anything from home decor, apparel, kitchen products, bumper stickers, whatever. And then you design the product by uploading your logo to it. And then when you are publishing your product, you can choose to publish it to your WooCommerce store. And now you have a full-blown store on your website, and the products were actually built with Printify. What's great about this is that it's a print-on-demand company, which means that when someone orders a shirt, it goes to Printify, they make the shirt, they ship the shirt, and you didn't have to do anything. So working with a hosted company has its advantages. So I thought this was super cool. There are others other than Printify, and strangely, they are all sound the same. Like I think there's one called Printful that was also good. And you can probably mix and match. So if Printful has something Printify doesn't have, you can, so long as it publishes to your WooCommerce store and that they're connected, so it's all using the WooCommerce extension. All right, so we talked about different platforms and how they work, how they compare to others. But I wanted to give a little bit of a deeper dive into what to look for. So I'm going to give just a couple here, I think 3 or 4. I guess before we go further, I'll take questions now. Do we have any questions on the Q&A? We do. All right. Question 1, Malika. I founded a nonprofit. Do you recommend I sign up and pay for WordPress products and then add WooCommerce? So for this one, you have 2 different platforms for WordPress. You have WordPress.com, which is what they, it basically is for people who need a little help when designing their website. It doesn't give you the full access to what developers get. It is open source and you can install it anywhere on any server. But the .com, they make you pay for it, and they make you pay for more plugins and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different. So their .com is almost like watered down builder, and then you have the open source WordPress.org, which is the full package that developers can install themselves. So the way it works is that WordPress itself is free, and then you add Woocommerce, which is also free. But then usually, and I'll go into this, usually what you're doing is buying some extensions to customize the process, and that's what you end up paying for. And on average, I would say up to $200 a year annually to kind of keep the subscriptions active and making sure that it's always getting updated. That's a good question. Okay. Nathan, e-commerce popularity based on users or sales revenue? That's a good question. I would say based on users. Based on users. Shopify, which is a good segue into what I'm doing now, actually has I'm going to call it enterprise feature, where they're doing a lot more behind the scenes, and it's pretty crazy what they take into consideration, from the social selling features to the shipping and the distributing and all that stuff. They can really take that and run with it. But for us small businesses and micro businesses, usually the price is just way too much. Okay, did that one. Leanne, do you know what type of reporting features Wix lacks? I don't, but I will tell you where to find out. So hang tight. All right, Wix is one of the ones we're going over deep dive over. All right, Shopify Pros. And by the way, guys, in this presentation, I added a link that will take you to a page that has the most, everything you need to know. I'm actually gonna open it up. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yes, you can. Oh, I forgot. I didn't change the link. Silly me. Let me see. Silly me. All right, I'll update that for you guys, but it's really cool. Let me see. That's weird. All right. I swear these links work, guys. I swear. Okay. I'm actually gonna bring it up 1 second. Okay. This is the site I wanted to show you. And they basically have every single platform on here that you can review and take a look at. So let's take a look at Wix. Actually, Shopify real fast. Here we go. All right. So they rate it, what they think. They give you recommendations. So Shopify is really great for design. It's great for add-ons and making it do more things. It's really fast. And then they give you the pros and cons, which I'm going to go over, reasons to use it, how popular it is. Not the revenue, unfortunately, but just the user amount. Here we go, Nathan. Shopify got a lot of recognition from reputable sources, ... In 2013, they made a whopping 1.68 billion in sales. So yeah, that's a lot. Cool. It gives you some screenshots. It lets you know what the pricing is. Obviously, they all have different pricing and they are changeable. So make sure that's good. I would double check the actual site, because I'm not sure how much these are updated for the price, but it'll at least give you a general idea. Third-party plugins that are available, language support, how does it work? It gives you some of this, just screenshots of it's very comprehensive. So my job today is to kind of go over it in ways that make it a little bit more manageable for you. Okay. So, what are the pros of Shopify? First of all, it's fully hosted, so you don't have to worry about anything. Not server maintenance costs, not Pci Compliance. It takes care of all of that for you. It's very easy to use and beginner friendly. That's one thing I really love about it. I think it's got a really great selection of themes. They have free ones, and they also have ones for purchase for like $50-ish, would probably be on the high end. I think I've also seen ones for like $300, depending. Yeah, it can get pretty crazy, but well worth it. You can customize themes on Shopify. They use their own language, so not every developer is going to want to go in there and try to customize the themes. I think their monthly fees are pretty low. I mean, prices start like at $29. The community is super engaged, and there's so many options for add-ons and third-party integrations. You're gonna love it. And so what I do like about it is that it's a more point of sale focus. So it has multi-channel retailing, online and offline. So yeah. So if you're at an actual store with a location, you don't have to use like a different system. Some cons. There are transaction fees if you're trying to use like a non-in-network gateway. There's no free plan. There is a free trial, which I definitely recommend that you do. Customization of themes is pretty limited from like a user standpoint. Again, unless you get back in there and code and then you need a developer. So that's why I think splurging on a theme you really love is going to be way less of a headache than trying to take a theme that's free and making it what you want. It'll never be what you want. It does have transaction fees, and yeah, support takes a long time. I tried, it takes days, but that's better than Facebook support. If you ever try to reach out to Facebook, I think I'm still waiting, you know, it's been like 5 years. So I will say they do get back to you, but it can take a little bit. So Shopify is one of my top recommendations. If you are e-commerce centered as a company and you're gonna have thousands of products, I recommend Shopify. Okay, Squarespace. What I love about Squarespace is that's great for startups. You know, prices start at 26 bucks. It's fully hosted, beautiful designs, great, you know, drag and drop builder, no transaction fees, great online marketing features. So it really helps you market your company or your store. And the features, I think they're a bit more SEO conscious than some of the other stores. So yeah, they definitely help you grow your online presence. Cons. They don't have like a point of sale feature like Shopify does. It's just on their website. There's nothing that connects it to like your, you know, brick and mortar system. And it's not solely focused on e-commerce. So again, it's more for a website experience. So they're not completely like e-commerce focused like Shopify is. And there's no phone support, which is a real bummer. Unless you're an introvert like me and you just want a text message forever. Wix, let's start with this one. This one is definitely really popular because the prices only start at $18. And you know, like Squarespace, they do have some social selling features, like your Facebook shop and Facebook Messenger. They really try to connect those two things. It is fully hosted, so again, you don't have to worry about server maintenance and costs. Super easy to use. They do have a free forever plan, but they have their logo at the bottom, and I don't believe you can use a custom domain name. So don't do the free version. Definitely pay for the premium plans, which are really, really affordable because you want that professional presence. But that's how they get you in. You get in there, you mess around, you like it, and then you upgrade to a premium. And they can accept multiple payment methods, and they don't take like a commission, you know, they just pass that cost on to you and they don't mark that shit up. All right. Here we go, the bad side. Their design options can be really overwhelming. It is pretty customizable, and they have a lot of them. Again, Wix isn't like Shopify, which can integrate with your native POS, so just be aware of that. And similar to Squarespace, it doesn't focus just on e-commerce. It's really used for building standard websites. So yeah. Okay, so those were hosted solutions. So let's talk about Woocommerce, which again, very popular, one of my favorites. And again, you need to install this on your own server, and I do have recommendations for you moving on from that. Woocommerce itself is free, and you install on Wordpress, which is also free, but there are extras that are paid, and honestly, I feel like they're required. Like for example, customizing the checkout experience. Maybe you want a seamless, you know, experience. So you're adding all these like wonderful plugins that make it do some fun things from, gosh, I'm trying to think, shipping calculators and yeah. And the way it works is that these plugins are almost like subscriptions, and you pay them annually. So I would say for a normal site I build, I probably have the client spend $50 to $200 a year on just keeping those plugins updated and current. It's great for users who prefer WordPress, highly customizable, and plenty of integrations. And again, a super active community and developer. So this isn't going anywhere. It's going to be available forever, pretty much. But let's talk about the bad side. So it doesn't update. It doesn't really work well with WordPress sometimes. I never update WooCommerce like right away. I kind of give it a few days so things can settle. So sometimes it does break, but it's not that bad. It's self-hosted, so you'll have to handle all the updates and maintenance. And it really does require that you know WordPress pretty intimately. So you have to be a bit more technical on that side. And WooCommerce is free, but the cost can run high when you factor in the hosting, the development, and maintenance. So you have a domain, which is like $12, your hosting, which the 144 a year is pretty average for like a really fast host. And then just having to go in every month and updating it. So yeah, having a custom website can definitely put a dent in your wallet, but it's just so great. And I'll show you some examples. Okay, so my top 5 hosting companies for self-hosted platforms. So let's say you want to have your own WordPress site on your own server. And again, there are others than WordPress. I'm not very familiar with them because WordPress has just been such a powerful tool. But there's Drupal, there's Magento, of course, there is Joomla. None of those I'm like super into. So that's why I'm really talking about WordPress. SiteGround is really great because it gives you a free SSL. Flywheel, Media Temple, InMotion, Dreampost, all of these are good if you want to take the WooCommerce route. All right, I'm taking more questions. Okay. Jennifer, your question is 100 pieces black disposable face mask, 3-ply face mask with soft plastic ear loops. I'm not sure what your question is. Can you please repeat it? Let me know in chat or in the question. Okay, something from Jennifer. Having a theme developed on one of these platforms, how can we be sure that they won't do upgrades that require us to upgrade, redo our theme? Jennifer, that's a big question. And honestly, that is a problem. But I will say that the shelf life on them is pretty good. I recently had a client who has been on the same site and theme for about 8 years, I believe, something like that. And that's a long time. And, obviously the theme isn't supported anymore. And in order for her to really get in and make any changes, she's going to have to upgrade the theme. There's also other technology things that are important to know. So when you're self-hosting, there's different server upgrades you have to make. One of them is a PHP version, and that really affects the security of the website as well as what plugins are compatible on it. And that's just for the nature of the beast. So we've had some pretty big upgrades that force themes. I would say that there are themes out there that are well supported. And for example, one of them is Divi. They update like several times a month, and plugins update several times a month. And that's just sort of how we keep up with the technology and keep everyone on a modern browser. So you can't really be sure. You could not upgrade. But usually when you do the upgrade to the theme that they come out, if you have like a yearly subscription for a theme, all that's included. And when you update it, it shouldn't break. So it's only when there's server technology that changes when that comes into effect. Now, Squarespace, they probably have PHP versions they have to deal with as well, but they can go in and update their platform. And I don't think it's any different. I think they have to go through and update all their themes as well. So we just have to see. If you want to send me a theme, I can give you an idea of like if it's solid. You want to make sure you pick your theme that has at least 4 stars. At least. Don't do anything with 3 because it sucks. And the more ratings it has, even better. But yes, I'm not saying Divi is the only theme in the world because I am getting a little tired of seeing all the same Divi sites over and over again. But customizing it is really what it's all about. You can make a Divi theme look like anything. So you don't have to be stuck with like its default look. I hope that answers your question. You just have to deal with it basically. But if you have a developer that's, you know, sort of with it, you can get a lot of years out of a theme. Okay. Oh no, I am totally a fan of WordPress, love WordPress. Small business consulting, okay. Okay, okay, we have a new question. We got lots of questions, guys. Okay. Hosting slide again, there you go, anonymous, done. Yeah, okay, SSL. That is the little lock here on the top right. So this lets the user know that this website has an SSL on it. And an SSL is kind of like a tunnel. And when you're sending information to and from the server, the information can't really be hacked, if you will. So you're sending information securely. So that's really great when you're having, when you're sending credit card information or social security numbers, like all that needs to have an SSL so that it's privately sent. And I think we're getting to the point now where a lot of hosts are including that for free. You can purchase different levels of SSL depending on how valuable the information is. So GoDaddy probably has a big, you know, really secure SSL because they handle so much, you know, stuff. But the SSL is required for PCI compliance. And honestly, every website should have one now, because if it doesn't, you know, Google's like, it's not secure. And then people who aren't super computer savvy don't really understand that. And then they decide not to go to the site at all. So definitely do that. They're usually anywhere between $0 and maybe $80 a year. Yeah. Okay. There you go, Malika. Jennifer. Okay, it's fine. Yana, if you use Shopify, are they responsible for any possible security breaches regarding payment info and such? I absolutely do not want to receive or store payment information. Ayana, yes, absolutely. When you use a payment gateway, usually they take on the brunt of that. So for example, in our store, we, I think we're connected to Stripe. And Stripe, so what it looks like is the person pays on your website. They have no idea what payment gateway they're using. We're just sending the information to Stripe. We're not storing it. So that kind of takes it. So as long as you do your due diligence, you're fine. There are, yeah, so they kind of take care of that. And if you're on a hosted platform, even more so. Unfortunately, nothing's really safe from hacking. I mean, the biggest companies are getting hacked. Even, you know, I think it was TransUnion got hacked. And they're like, you know, the credit card, you know, score people. So if they're getting hacked, everyone's getting hacked. Identity theft. So you can also purchase cybersecurity insurance if it's a huge part of your business, but you typically do not. You can absolutely opt in to just capture and not store the information when you're sending it. Malika, for a, 1 second, done. Okay, done. Into live done, please bear with me. Malika, would you recommend Wix or Woocommerce for a nonprofit? I don't know if I would recommend either. There's some really great sites out there that help you manage that whole thing. One of them is Donor Perfect. I would do a little bit more research on donors, on nonprofit specific websites for a startup. And usually they have systems where they support reoccurring subscriptions and things like that. So I would dig a little bit deeper for you, Malika. You can type in like nonprofit websites and see the features that they have and the customer management and decide based on that. Okay, I think that's all the questions I'm going to take right now. So, whew, all right. Bluehost is okay, for sure, Brian. I don't have any problem with Bluehost. My websites tend to be a bit more robust, and Bluehost doesn't like them. Because we're kind of moving from old school web to new school web, where you know, you could run a website very, you know, but we have so many images and videos and animations that, you know, the old platforms can't keep up. And if they don't upgrade their servers, your website is chugging along, doesn't work, you can't use a visual builder, and you're just frustrated. So make sure you're not on some grandfathered account and that you're actually using their new resources for today's technology, basically. Okay, we talked about that. Let's talk about e-commerce marketplaces. So the platform, I realize, is a lot to take in, but don't worry, I'll give you this slide and I will update that link for you. So you guys know what e-commerce marketplaces are. And I'm not sure if you thought about this, but not only does an e-commerce marketplace have goods and services, right? But you can also do investments and funding as well as information. So here's some very common marketplaces: Twitch, SoundCloud, YouTube, Yelp, Spotify, goods, eBay, Amazon, Etsy. Now, Etsy, as someone mentioned earlier, is specific to like handmade stuff. So that's industry specific. Amazon and eBay can cover a wide variety of goods. And Etsy also, you can also do a service. So you could design a banner for someone. The Google Play and Apple Store are considered marketplaces. Services: Uber, Booking.com, Airbnb, and Kickstarter for investments and fundraising. So usually, well, there is a reason why they're so great. So first of all, you can set them up like in a weekend. Boom, you're done. They handle all the payment processing, the Pci Compliance. They even give you like a storefront, basically. And because they're doing all the marketing and bringing customers to their platform, it gives you a higher chance of being visible and found. So for example, let's say you go to Google and you type in cute shoes, okay? You're gonna get a billion results and none of them are gonna be your store. But if you go to Etsy and type cute shoes, there might be 100 shops in there that sell cute shoes. And now you're getting a very slim list. And if you're in that list, you're going to be seen rather than the SEO way, which you're not going to be seen. So the marketplace does help you because you're already bringing the target audience to you. It's kind of like being in a bazaar or something. And there's so many to choose from. And some are industry specific, and you don't have to stick to just one marketplace. You can have one on Etsy, one on eBay, so whichever, and then you can kind of feel it out and see where you're getting traction. And from there, you can put more of your energy into it. So I know someone who makes hand soaps, and she has an Etsy shop, but she also has her website that she has things through. And the website, for example, might have products that the marketplace doesn't have to kind of incentivize, that purchase. But let's talk about the negatives about it, right? So they take a big chunk of the profits, right? So they might take 30%. They might charge a listing fee. So it's something to take in mind. However, it really is a great way to start up a company. It really is. However, you don't really have control over how your website store looks. They usually allow like a banner, logo, and of course text. Other than that, you're going to look the same as everyone else. There's usually not a lot of options for customization, which results in the need for outside communication to personalize orders. So I remember I ordered a tablecloth from an Etsy store, and they're like, okay, here's what you got to do. You're going to make it. And then they had like this whole page about how you have to interact with them outside of Etsy in order to complete your order. That's frustrating and get sloppy, and customers can get lost in the sauce. So it's not great if you have a more, customized product. And they're not great for SEO. SEO, there's a lot of things that go into it, from how you write your copy to what keywords you use, but they don't have a lot of good SEO tools. So really you have to rely on the content in order to promote it. But, if you're not going to be found anyway, because it's such an obscure key phrase, then it doesn't really matter if it's not that great. Okay. So I think you guys should pick a marketplace that makes sense for your industry. And if you do well, you can outgrow it and supplement with another platform similar to the hand soap story I said. So tell me in chat, what marketplace are you using or thinking of using? Is there any in this list? Or do you have anything that wasn't in the list that you're thinking about? There's thousands, there's so many. One of them, another great one for artists, is something called Society 6. where it's kind of like a home decor shop, and then you put logo on it, and then they print on demand and send it to people, including prints and stuff. Brian, we love Etsy. Etsy ads have been super effective for us. They run your ads in the Etsy app website search results and also in Google search results. Yes. And that's called retargeting. So if you go to Etsy and then you're looking at like this really great ring that maybe you're like, I don't know if I should buy it or not. And then you go to, then you're on another page and, you're looking for groceries and you see an ad that says, hey, come back to this Etsy shop. Remember the ring, and you're like, yeah. So that's called retargeting. Yes, Redbubble, Society 6. Yeah, they have been really saturated, Lena, and the only problem with them is that some of them aren't really local small companies. They tend to be maybe like a little bit bigger, and they're trying to come off like they're really boutique. So that's something people are complaining about as well. But branding is everything on that side. Okay, let me take a look. All right. Giselle has a question. I hope I pronounced your name right. As for privacy policies and terms and conditions, are they absolutely necessary to have on your website? It's a long time. Yes. In fact, now we also need the cookie message, because if someone from England visits your site, technically, it's violating their terms of use. So definitely have that. And you know what? There are templates you can just borrow for the legal mumbo jumbo, but what people need to know, and I will make this very transparent, because if your policy is something that isn't kosher, you're going to hear about it. So for example, what's your refund policy? Do you have a restocking fee? Do you share your client's information to promote? Do you sell the list? So it really depends on what you're doing, and you are legally bound to inform people about that. So find the template, customize it for you, and then have a link to it in your footer. So I would say yes. Privacy policy in terms of conditions. I don't know. I think you can have one or the other. I don't think you need both of those, but you do need the terms and conditions, and the privacy policy can be all in one document, really. The privacy policy is sort of like the cookie alert. So you can kind of have that button, like accept all cookies, learn more, and then take them to the privacy policy. I don't know what termly.io is, but you can make your own contract and just add it as a page people visit that just has your policy on it. Google, free privacy template. Yeah. Some of them want to charge you $5, but honestly, if you dig around long enough, you should be able to find a template pretty easily. Okay. All right. Answer that. All right. Good questions, guys. All right. Let's talk about getting started. I've just info dumped you. You're like, now what? What do I do? Let's start from the beginning. Before you buy, it's okay to make 10 accounts to test drive. So you should definitely mess around with several of them and see what you like. It's going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to have an account floating out there that you're not using, but who cares? A lot of them have free trials. Get in there and use it. Don't let it lapse. And yeah. It's worth it to mess around. So here's really what you need. These are kind of the pieces that all come together. You have your domain name, you have your platform or marketplace. And again, sometimes you can have both if you'd like, right? You can have more than one store. If you accept payments, then you have to figure out how to ship or deliver the download that you're selling, and then how it integrates. In a perfect world, your website would integrate with your inventory system, and it would be magical, right? Step 0, research. Not just other companies and platforms, but yourself. So who are your competitors? Is your idea viable? And I ask this question a lot, and believe it or not, I've actually turned down a couple of websites where they wanted to spend a lot of money on a full-blown e-commerce experience, because you have to ask yourself, why are they going to you and not Amazon? What are your shoppers expecting from the experience? Do they want your product or service? Is it viable? What's your unique value proposition? How are you different from Amazon? You have to let people know that, or they're just going to ignore you, because don't fix what's not broken. They're happy shopping Amazon. You know, what's your thing? Step 1, plan. This is a big one. What internal systems do you use that you might want to, integrate with your online store? Inventory tracking, etc. So take a look at what you're currently using, see what the integrations are in that, and then maybe try to match those up. Or start with the platform and then see what that, mixes with, and then pick that one. So just plan a little bit how things integrate together and work together to make your life easy. Step 2, build your brand and your unique value proposition. Okay, so this one is a big one. I kind of touched about it on step 1. But how is your store different from other stores, and why do people care? What problems are you trying to solve? What makes you better? And even further, how do you affect the community in which you live? People, want to know that you care, that you have a culture, that personality is really important. So make sure that whatever you do, that your personality and your brand and your mission's, front and center. All right, so come up with a good domain name is step 3. Something memorable but not too long. Fight the urge, please, to not get a .biz or .net because .com is not available. Get creative. So for example, brandswan.design is our domain name. Now we did that because the .com wasn't available, even though we did a search for the brandswan name and it wasn't being used. Sometimes people just take up these names and they sit on them and then they hope to resell them for a lot of money. I noticed that the website was $1,500, the domain name I could buy. So we're like, screw that, we'll just get the .design. So instead of doing like the .biz or .net, the .design feels intentional because we're a design company, right? We eventually ended up negotiating with the person who owned the .com and got it for like $1,200 or something. And we wanted to do that for brand security and awareness, but we were okay to roll. But if you do a .biz or .net, it usually just feels like a cop out because you couldn't get the .com. So pick a better extension. There's so many cool ones out there. 4, the shopping experience. What kind of products or services are you selling, and what options do they have? Use this to determine whether you use a certain platform. So again, I'm going to go through like the customization. Like, are you actually customizing a product? Do they fill in like the name that's going to go on the necklace, or what kind of options will the apparel have? So make sure that you kind of have an outline of what the shopping experience looks like, even if it's just a scribble. A box. Okay, here's the product, picture of the product. Great, here's the options. Here's, and then once you look at that, you can compare it to what your, the product's available and then adjust accordingly. But definitely start here with what the shopping experience looks like. Step 5, don't forget shipping or how downloads get to the buyer. So is your shipping price worked into the price of the product? Is there a flat fee? Does the weight matter? How many shipping options will you have, like round, express? Do you want it to calculate shipping based on product and location? So with WordPress, you can actually install an add-on that will calculate the shipping on the fly. So you kind of pass that shipping cost onto them, and it's almost like a middleman. You don't have to worry about it because the cost is being billed for. So that's very cool. So it depends on like how you're shipping the product as well. Like, where's it coming from? Is it a warehouse? You kind of have to figure all that out. Step 6, fine-tune the experience. Shoppers expect certain things like email confirmations, accounts, saving their credit card and faster checkout for order history, walk through the experience step by step. So if you want to be as awesome as Amazon, you're going to have to store credit card information, which means that you have to upgrade your Pci Compliance. You're going to have to really spend a lot of money to make sure it's secure and that, it works. So again, just remember, people are used to shopping a certain way, kind of like, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but like Control Z on your Control Z on your keyboard undoes your last action. And that comes from like a Photoshop thing, but actually it like works for a lot of programs. It kind of became like a universal key binding. So Control Z will undo something. So you can, yeah. So just remember, oops, I went too far. Human psychology, how are we we always look for the navigation at the top, right? Like, so we always expect the logo to be on the left. So just know conventions. And then when you fine tune the experience, you can decide if you want to break those. Marketing, step number 7. There are 3 ways to get traffic to your store. 1 is search engines, right? Including Google business page posts, by the way, that they really push. So you might want to think about adding Google business page posts because they do come up pretty high in the search engines. Marketplaces, right? They're bringing the clients to you. Get reviews, that's the biggest thing. So get some reviews under your belt so that way you look legit and that you're not going to give someone a bad product. So, no one wants to order from a marketplace that has 0 reviews. There's got to be a guinea pig, maybe get a couple of friends to do it for you. But get that social proof. Last but not least, you have social media. It's a slow burn. It's not like you're going to sell a product overnight. It depends. So for example, Rothy's. I'm not sure if you guys know what Rothy's is. It's a shoe company. They make shoes out of plastic recycled water bottles. Well, I would see an ad for them, over and over again, until I finally bought one. So you have to hit them several times with Facebook ads and just seeing them. But brands want, obviously, we sell websites that are, they can be pricey in the thousands, and people aren't just going to click on an ad and buy that, right? We have to kind of court them a little bit, get them to trust our brand. So that's why social media is a slow burn, but it's the most wonderful referrals. And that's really, where you build your community. So you just got to put the time in to do that. All right, step 8, utilize tools and add-ons. A lot of them are free. Some of them you buy them, but they're so worth it. Use coupon code to drive the promotions and get the word out. If marketing is important, pick a platform that helps with that. And I've listed those in the presentation. Here's just some examples of plugins and extensions and add-ons that you can add to your website, again, depending on what platform you use. But contact forms, you can integrate with your CRM. So the form from your CRM, you can paste it into the website, and then that automatically goes into that software. Booking systems, membership portals, inventory tracking, shipping calculators, lead caption forms. Maybe you get their email in exchange for a white paper. Social media feeds, tracking effectiveness of Facebook and SEO campaigns, and search features and category listings. Organize your content. So there's lots of really cool plugins that you can use. Some of them are built in, some of them you have to buy. All right, I want to take questions. We are nearing the end here with 4 minutes to spare. Good timing, guys. I'll give you guys a second. While you answer your questions, I'm going to go through my spiel real fast. So you guys are welcome to schedule a call with me. The link's in the presentation. And I'm going to send you a revised presentation so that the links work. I tested them, but I'm not sure what happened, so I'm going to fix them. But yes, feel free to call me. I'll be happy to talk with you for a few minutes about your setup and what I would recommend for you. Last but not least, feel free to join our Facebook group. It's called Reveal Your Inner Awesome, and really it's just about helping business owners with their challenges. Sometimes we're vulnerable and talk about the overall scope of things and our goals. But yeah, if that speaks to you, please feel free to join us. I have added references, so any of the stuff in this presentation, you can go and check them out.
Please, Jen, just a quick one to our attendees before, even as we still wait for more questions to come up, I will be posting a 30-second survey about today's webinar. Please, as usual, kindly take your 30 seconds to fill out the survey about today's webinar. Remember, we always tell you that we cherish your feedbacks, even as it helps us to improve on the services we provide to you.
Yeah, that's so cool. It really is. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Latanya.
Yeah, from the look of things, we have less than 2 minutes now. I just want to use this time to thank each and every one of you for keeping it a day with us. Jen, thank you for your time. Thank you for all the effort. Thank you for answering all the questions that actually came on board during the presentation. And to my fellow Temple Small Business and Development Center team members, I also want to thank you for your time, your effort, for making it possible for this webinar to come into existence. Thanks, everybody, and do have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.